Hello guys, this is Tanzim Kazi. I'm back again with another video, and this year, my YouTube account has turned 13 years old. The same thing will happen with my DeviantArt next month, even though my activity on that platform is somewhat limited. I can't believe my YouTube account is as old as I was when I opened up my Twitter and Tumblr accounts. Basically, I started my internet career 13 years ago, in early 2013. Anyways, this video is basically a vlog where I talk about stuff while you see something else on the screen. In this case, I'm going to be talking about the updates and something about my YouTube channel, and I'm also going to be telling a story. So while you hear me talk about stuff, you are also seeing me work on a Christmas drawing that I have already finished in time for Christmas. And I know more than a month has passed since Christmas. I was originally going to work on this video and upload it by the end of 2025, but I couldn't because of some other things I have to do, as well as some complications regarding the making of this video. I was going to finish that video early in January, and then I realized that by the time I am working on this video, my channel is close to becoming 13 years old. So I decided my anniversary video will be just that. It is what it is though. So, let's begin. In September 2025, I received my first community guideline strike in 11 years, as well as my first strike in general in 8 years. Actually, it was a warning. So the video in question that was taken down was a downfall parody that is pretty much a loop. That video is from 2020. I tried to appeal the warning, but it was quickly rejected. Turns out a number of people I know have the same problem, including the ones that are not the same type of video. I have a feeling that this might be a result of YouTube's moderation team consisting of bots and AI, or I would like to call them clankers. I mean, it's so ridiculous that they would take down the most anodyne stuff on YouTube, yet they're okay with ads that feature AI-generated spicy pictures of underage female characters. It's so stupid. So what's happening with my downfall parody begs the question. Am I retiring from downfall parodies? Well, it's debatable. I had Sony Vegas project files of downfall parodies that I have yet to finish. If I want to finish, that is. I haven't made downfall parodies after the end of 2022, and I have stopped making videos about him ranting about years. Because let's face it, those videos are getting repetitive. According to the downfall parody wiki, if I haven't made a parody after 5 months, I'm considered dormant, but I haven't made those videos for over 2 years, so it seems like I would have been silently retired, which would have been true if not for the fact that I am still making videos, just not the downfall parodies. That makes the status implied to be retired. And to answer if I'm still retiring from downfall parodies, again, I don't know. I'll see about that. I was unsure if I wanted to do that, considering what's going on with YouTube lately. Speaking of which, one of the reasons why I was considering retiring from making downfall parodies is because the landscape of my channel has changed a lot over the years, and still is to this day. A decade ago, my videos consist of what me and my friends would call regular and creative videos. And those types of videos include downfall parodies, angry German kid videos, fan-made logos, and some other stuff. Fast forward to today, my videos focus on things that are related to my interests. Some of my interests include art, animation, music, cartoons, technology, graphic design, TV presentations, and more. That said, my recent videos consist of speed paints, the ones where I just talk to y'all, and some cartoon animations. I've made 2 of them. One is just simple and basic animation. One of the types of videos from 10 years ago that I can still do today is logo animations, but it's going to be very different from the ones that I did many years ago. I have come a long way, and those logo animations are going to be the more creative ones. I do upload some gameplay videos, but this kind of video is not very common for me. I only upload those videos whenever I feel like it. Regardless, my video output on YouTube is much lower than before. And there are 2 big reasons why. The first reason is the lack of ideas. I mean, there isn't really much I can think of when making videos. Even if I do want to make videos, motivation isn't really kind to me. And there are some videos that I have done, but I hesitate to upload them to YouTube. Part of the reason being copyright. The second reason is because I was so focused on drawings, art, and everything. It's like art became my main output. Although I do hope that I was able to make more animation videos, so... Another type of video that I make are the ones that are related to phone sounds. Those videos showcase my favorite ringtones, all the lock and unlock sounds that I have compiled, the battery sounds, and my compilation of default alarm sounds. And I gotta say, I'm surprised that my battery sound is doing very well. Now, originally I was gonna post the lock and unlock sounds in October, and the battery sounds in November. However, I couldn't post both of these videos at the designated date that I wanted. Instead, the lock and unlock sounds were posted in late November and the battery sounds in December. The big reason why all of this happened is because of drama. Drama is the big reason why this happened, and I guess it's time I talk about the drama that I had dealt with in fall of 2025. This brings me to a segment that I would like to call Storytime with Tanzim Kazi. I've done videos with this segment, but I didn't call them that because I didn't name that segment at the time. Sometimes the segment can be part of the video, and other times it is the entire video. Basically, I am telling you a story that is usually about the things that happen to me in my life. So in this installment of Storytime with Tanzim Kazi, I will be talking about the drama that led to a pretty bad falling out between me and one of my close friends. This one is going to be an emotional roller coaster. Keep in mind that there might be a chance that I would eventually break down in the middle of this story, so bear with me. This drama started near the end of September 2025 when I went to that friend's DM on Discord. I'll refer to that friend as W. So I went to W's DM and told him about some ideas for my birthday gift art that I actually scrapped in favor of a new one. That scrapped idea was based around some silly song that was stuck in my head at the time. For the new idea, I was going to ask him about an indie rock band whose song is going to be the foundation. However, W misinterpreted my text as me suggesting him ideas for his birthday drawing and lashed out at me for it. I quickly told him that I was talking about my idea and not his, not before I called him out for his rude attitude. He chastised me for that and said that he was in a pissy mood and that I'm in that crowd. At first, I was confused about this whole discussion. It was not until W signed out for the night that I was pretty pissed. I was pissed that W would do this to me, especially after he and I had a history of helping and chatting with each other when it comes to some sorts of things, like using bad mood as an excuse and lashing out on someone behind their backs. I was so mad about this that I made the stupid decision of ghosting him. I'm specifically talking about giving him the silent treatment, muting my DMs with him so I don't receive notifications from him, not chatting with him, and pretty much ignoring him, even after he said sorry and that he failed me. One time, a friend of mine who's also friends with W asked me about him, and I told that friend to leave me out of this, pretty much suggesting that I don't want anything to do with W. At first, I thought this would be a fitting punishment against W for his behavior, and that I would do this for 3 days. However, that is only the beginning of the drama, as it is going to get worse. And to be honest, the incident would still go from bad to worse if I did tell W to not talk to me for some time. On Friday, October 3, 3 days have passed since I started ghosting W, and I was about to text him on Discord DM, until I received a server notification about his message on his server. Basically, he vented about the fact that I ghosted him and unfollowed me on his socials, without mentioning my name. I saw the message and pointed out to him that he's talking about me. When I went to W's DMs, things escalated further. He told me that he was not in a good... He told me that he was not in a good headspace after some drama regarding some meme on his friend's server, and that he took out his frustration on me, which I replied by saying that what he's going through doesn't excuse what he did to me and that I'm still upset about it. He said that I should be upset, which isn't really a wise thing to say, although my response to that isn't wise either. Late at night, after that chat with him, I was wondering if I have gone too far when it comes to ghosting and ignoring him. But the next day was when the worst happened, and to be honest, something that I had feared in 2025, considering that W has been involved in a few dramas and even years prior. W has told me that he is severing ties with me, saying that what I did to him was too far and that he's going to retaliate against me. And the argument got even worse. After listening to things that happened on Monday and saying that his post on his server was the last straw, W said that our friendship is over, and I replied by saying, if this is what you want, if this is how you're going to act, if this is how things are going to be from now on, then it's over. I was going to call him a disappointment, but he blocked me before I could. I was so angry at this betrayal that not only did I block him back on Discord, but I also left his server and blocked his other socials. So, my fear for 2025 has come true. I would have a friendship falling out with W, and a really bad one. Shortly after the breakup, I immediately went to my socials and made vent posts about the friendship breakup and betrayal. I didn't mention W's name because I was so ashamed of this whole mess that I didn't want to name him, and also because I don't want people to harass and witch hunt him, which would escalate the drama even further. This drama also affected my activity on social media, where I didn't do my usual activities, which includes liking and retweeting posts. I would also change my profile picture to nothing but black, and change my Discord display name to just dots. I was that heartbroken about the whole falling out, not to mention angry. After posting these vent posts, several people came to comfort me. One of the people I chat with is the same friend who was also friends with W, and since he has a big role in this story, I decided to name this person Wacko. I went to Wacko to tell him that my friendship with W has ended. Needless to say, he was devastated. He reacted to my friendship breakup with W in the same way as a person reacting to a family tragedy. It was so bad to the point where he ended up changing his profile picture to a black blank one. In my DMs with Wacko, I sent him text talking about how W keeps making mistakes despite me helping him, how he gave me that attitude and make up excuses just to protect his ego, and even compared him to that old disgraced 2019 friend of mine from Australia. And if you're curious who that friend is, it's the one with the gray fox persona. Basically, I blamed W for the entire friendship breakup, saying that he's more concerned about his ego than our friendship. He even said that... Actually, I even said that this whole mess wouldn't have happened if he didn't shit on someone and their art because they blocked him when chatting with me. Considering that this falling out happened a few days before his birthday, I said that he can celebrate his birthday without me and that I'm not wishing one, which is rather ruthless. I did, however, let Wacko do his birthday drawing for W out of courtesy. While I was chatting with Wacko, a few people asked me what's wrong. I didn't respond to these people until several hours later, but only responded with a simple answer that doesn't paint the entire picture about what actually happened. It takes a few social media event posts that they realize what I was going through. I did eventually talk to my other friends about the friendship breakup that I had gone through. During the first 3 to 4 days after the incident, I was very angry at W and held a lot of grudges against him. One time on Instagram, on my stories, I shared posts about betrayal and friendship breakups. Eventually, on October 7, the pain was enough that I decided to do a vent drawing, and I was able to let out most of my feelings of heartbreak and betrayal in a creative way. This is the drawing that I was talking about, and this is actually the alternate version. I can't show you the original version because it is a little violent and I don't want my video to get taken down for that. That picture is mostly black and white, and it shows my persona getting stabbed in the back with the only color being the red blood. The actual picture is basically a visual metaphor for, well, stabbed in the back, which is an idiom that means being betrayed by someone who trusted you. Surprisingly, this drawing ended up becoming my most popular drawing on Instagram that only consists of my persona. It could be that true art really is angsty, or maybe I used a song by Slipknot. Anyways, that drawing did allow me to let out my emotions of anger, betrayal, and grudges. But another group of feelings would dominate me the next day. On October 8th, I am starting to lose my grudge against W. Plus, I was starting to feel guilty about what I have done to him. I was wondering if it was wrong for me to ghost and ignore someone because I was angry at them. So, I asked several people that question, and the general consensus is that it is not the right move to ghost and ignore someone because you're angry, especially after they regretted their actions. That friend in particular gave me some good advice about that. I'll call that friend Hund. Hund told me that two wrongs don't make a right. In this case, it's not right for W to lash out on me, and it's not right for me to completely ignore him. It was at this point that I realized what I, as well as W, have done is an example of the phrase, hurt people, hurt people. For those who don't know, it is a phrase meaning that people who are in pain of some kind will end up inflicting another pain on others. I know that phrase is contested, but I'm not gonna dive deeper into that. I reached out to Wacko's DM and told him that the grudge I had against W is waning. The next day, it was W's birthday, and by that point, all the grudge that I had against him was completely gone, and I was no longer angry at him. Instead, I feel depressed and regretful. I was still sad about the breakup, but I'm also becoming remorseful about what I have done to W. It was at this point that I made a vent message talking about the incident. I have been blaming him for the falling out, calling him selfish and a backstabber, and thinking he's more concerned about his ego. The truth is, I'm just as much to blame for this mess. I was equally responsible for the falling out between me and W. Or so I thought. Not only that, but I feel like during the time of our breakup, I ended up hurting my friends and even myself. I told my friends everything about the drama, and they all understood what I was going through. And they all understood what I was feeling at the time, as well as reminding me what I've done isn't right. One thing about the drama that didn't help was that during the time I was angry and holding grudges, one of my circles ended up vilifying W without even mentioning his name. It's a good thing I didn't mention his name because if I don't, things are going to get really ugly. I did tell my circle to stop the vilification and dogpiling. I did appreciate them having my back though, and because it was W's birthday, at the time when I lost all the grudge I had against him, even though I didn't wish him a happy birthday, I did say that I hope his birthday goes well, in spite of our falling out. It was at this point that I wanted to make another drawing to express how I felt during that time, and I did. I finished that drawing in the early hours of the next day and posted it to my socials. It's just a drawing of my character looking all sad, representing my mood at the time. In the evening of that day, which is October 10, I was sharing Instagram posts about making mistakes, hurting people, regret, and everything. And it was at this point that I wanted to make things right with W, which means that I want to talk to him. I was thinking about how am I going to make amends with him, which can be things like spending some time together or even making a drawing for him. That evening, I decided I am letting the cat out of the bag, meaning I'm going to tell people in my DMs who the person that I had a falling out is, and I did. Some are surprised by my answer, while others already know who. In Wacko's case, he already knows pretty well about who the person is, as well as the whole situation, since he's a close friend of W. In the case of my other friend who's in my other circle, which I'll refer to as Lee, he knew it was W because of the thread that he saw. He then shared W's vent thread on Blue Sky. Lee posting this ended up being the turning point of this whole drama, which started from late evening into the early hours of the next day, which is October 11. Just before midnight, I asked Wacko on my phone if he can send me the screenshots of W's vent posts on his server, as well as a conversation between W and Wacko about the friendship breakup. After he posted all, I downloaded all his messages, compiled everything into one picture, and now I can read it. I started by reading his vent thread on Blue Sky, followed by his vent message on his Discord server. I already felt emotional when I read these two, but that was only the beginning. It was the DM between these two that struck me. It was the part where I got an insight on W's side of the story. I was going through reading through his messages and I felt so sad and remorseful about the breakup to the point where I actually cried. This happened a few minutes past 1 a.m. I was in my living room, all alone in the dark. My phone was at a fairly low percentage, but not low enough that the battery status on the status bar is red. I tried not to cry too loud because I didn't want to wake up my parents. One reason why I cried a lot after this is because I had great memories with W. He's the reason why I was able to create the character that you know and love. Why I decided to take cartoon drawings very seriously, and so much more. And we had moments of helping each other through dark times. I'll talk more about the messages shortly after. Needless to say, this reaction made me even more incentivized to talk to him, but it was already late, so I had to go to bed. After making and eating breakfast, I was ready to start talking to W, and I preferred that he start the conversation with me. Before I start, I unblocked him on Discord so we can start this discussion, and sure enough, W hit me up and we started chatting with each other. We talked about what we have gone through, and I showed him some vent posts I made I showed him some vent posts that I made just after the breakup, as well as mentioning him about the fact that people vilify him for what he did, which I think was undeserved. There was the part where I can see more of W's side of the story. After he had a falling out with each other, W was also angry and betrayed, but unlike me, who was still feeling that until a few days later, He quickly became depressed and remorseful, so much that he ended up leaving nearly every server because of this. I told him that for 5 days, I thought the friendship breakup was completely his fault, and then I claimed as much of the responsibility for all that. W has confirmed that the whole falling out and betrayal was all his fault, but that doesn't make what I did to him any less regrettable. I was also asking myself if I was still partially responsible for the drama, or that it was indeed completely his fault and that I only added fuel to the fire. When talking about what I was feeling on his birthday, even though W predicted I would wish him an unhappy birthday, that didn't turn out to be the case. As I said before, I said that I hope his birthday goes well, which it did. In the middle of all this, I did eventually unblock W on his socials. We did go a bit of a tangent on Twitter, but we went back to where we were before. I'm glad that his birthday drawing for 2025 isn't a depressing one, because if it is, then I would have felt worse about myself. I did point out the time when W said that I should have cut ties with him instead after I called him out for making abrasive comments on someone who blocked him over a misunderstanding, which was in April. That text ended up becoming harsher in hindsight, and when I received this text, I felt like Dante from 101 Dalmatian Street when I had some kind of premonition that our friendship falling out would become a reality, and after several failed attempts, it actually happened. We did remember the drama that he had with another close friend of his, the one that happened in late 2020 and early 2021. That drama has been resolved since. I have been drawing comparisons between the two of these dramas because they both started because of a misunderstanding and they left a mental scar on him and the other party. Some of the questions I asked about his statuses made me feel more terrible about what I did to him. He trashed his server and renamed it to Worthless Server, putting his on lockdown, changed his display name on Discord to Go Away and Blue Sky to Depressed Wuff, and having statuses like No Birthday for Me and Legit Devastated Right Now. W then revealed to me that after we broke up, he went to Wacko's DM to ask him to cut me off, but luckily he didn't. He would later delete that text as his anger turned into remorse. It's a good thing Wacko didn't cut ties with me as W told, because if that were to happen, that drama would have escalated even further, and this could lead to both our downfalls. He had revealed to me about how he was fighting the whole mentality that internet friends don't care for you, which he fortunately won. And on a related note, it is actually true that internet friends do care for you, because sometimes the internet can be a safe haven, particularly those who live in conservative households where you can't express your true self, or perhaps someone who had it pretty rough in real life and have the internet as their sanctuary. Anyways, back to the story. I showed him comparisons that I had between me and Wacko, as well as my vent messages on my friend's server. He told me that Wacko was right and that he should have known better. We were going to discuss the conversations between W and Wacko, but it was more than half an hour before W's bedtime, since he lives in the UK and I live in Montreal, Canada. It was closer to 2300 or 11 p.m. in his area. He lives 5 hours ahead of me. I also told him about the lessons that I've learned during and after our falling out. In fact, 3 lessons. Of course, I did mention 2 wrongs don't make a right, and the contested hurt people hurt people. However, another lesson I learned is that revenge is a dish best not served. If you're wondering how that is related to the incident, I ghosted him as retaliation for lashing out on me, which ended really badly. And by the time it was W's bedtime, we had chatted for 5 hours, which is pretty long. So by the time he went to bed, things are going very well between us. It was at this time that I started to heal from the pain that I had after a falling out, to the point where I decided to change my display name back to what it was before. So the next day arrived, and because one of my friends suggested I write a text in advance, I did just that. Again, we mentioned the drama from the early 2020s. I told W that Lee had considered our ordeal as the worst moment of 2025 and that he wasn't even prepared for that. And he's not wrong. I also pointed out that he suggested that I take a break from social media. I have taken a break from Instagram because of the whole meta boycott. I have taken a break from Instagram because of the whole meta boycott, which ended up not being that effective. There are times when I didn't use Twitter or Blue Sky, although those cases tend to be sporadic and unannounced. I didn't choose to take a break in October because there are some projects that I need to finish. After all, October is Halloween month. I asked him about how he made amends with a close friend of his that he had a falling out with before, and he gave out his answer. Now that we have everything out of the way, it's time we go over the vent posts from W, which, when I told him about me asking my friends to send me screenshots about his vents, he had a feeling that I would feel emotional and eventually break down, which I have, as I mentioned before in this video. He told me that he was also crying quietly because it was close to bedtime and he didn't want to wake up his parents as well. He would later reinforce that without him and his output. He would later reinforce that without him and his output, my persona and my talent for drawing cartoons would be pretty much non-existent. He also added that without me, he would have ended up sinking into a downward spiral. Anyways, we started going over the vent texts. The first screenshot made me question if part of the falling out was my fault, or that it was entirely W's fault, and I added fuel to the fire. On the second screenshot, he said that I can forget about him, his character, and everything, and this is where things take a complicated turn. He told me that his saying has been rendered moot by the fact that I was feeling remorseful about my unfair cutoff. And besides, if not for W, then my Blue Fox character wouldn't have existed. Even during the time we have drifted apart, I still acknowledge how he made the creation of my persona possible. I even told him a philosophy about a man who has some kind of connection to some case company that ended up in a plagiarism controversy. He did acknowledge the controversy and he knows that what the company did is unacceptable, but he knows that throwing his stuff away, especially the ones that mean a lot to him, is a dick move. On a side note, regarding the text about that philosophy, I'm actually talking about a tech YouTuber named Flossie Carter, as well as the controversy regarding Casetify plagiarizing the teardown skins that are a collaboration between D-Brand and another tech YouTuber, Zach Nelson, better known as Jerry Rig Everything. He made a video about that, and to simply put, he does acknowledge that what Casetify did was unacceptable. He supported the lawsuit, and he also hated thieves, but he does not want to throw away the custom-made cases that the company did, as that would be a dick move for him. Anyways, back to the main topic. Adding on to the philosophy that I was talking about, I told him that even though I was upset about the cutoff, I did not plan on retiring, or worse, killing off my OCs. Those characters mean so much to me that I am not giving them the same treatment that Maud Flanders from The Simpsons had, which is abruptly killing them off. That is something that W actually feared. Fortunately, that never happened. The third screenshot is him saying that he deserves an unhappy birthday from me, which is not true because, as I said before, I did hope his birthday goes well, and by the time his birthday comes, I was feeling depressed and regretful. He told me that what he did to me wasn't him standing up for himself, but rather manipulation and, for a lack of a better word, abuse. He told me that the way he acted was worse than how he acted towards someone named Eli, which I refuted by saying that he didn't trash my output and gave me the middle finger. Again, a good thing that this didn't happen, as that would have worsened the drama. I know I kept saying words that are along the lines of escalating drama, but it is what it is. I still think the way he acted towards Eli is worse, which he did regret, and if he gave me that treatment, you'd expect me to be angry at him. But no. I would have been devastated. So devastated to the point where I ended up sobbing. We went on a little bit of a tangent on the whole DeviantArt rants and cringe culture thing where we imagine a scenario where W trash talks someone's art and that someone turned out to be a victim of bullying during a time when those two things are popular. And I did talk about the aftermath of the era where DA rants and cringe culture both intersected. Before we go to the fourth screenshot, I shared some of the messages that we had before our breakup, and I did talk about the birthday drawing that I was planning to make. I did talk about the birthday drawing that I was going to make as a gift for W, but I ended up scrapping after the drama. And it was at this time that my phone battery went low, and that I had to use my iPad to continue the conversation. However, my iPad didn't have the pictures of Wacko's DM with W. Nevertheless, I did copy and paste the screenshots, and this brings me to not just fourth but also fifth screenshots, which acknowledges that W did admit his responsibility and owned up to his mistakes. The sixth screenshot is rather interesting. On that screenshot, he thought about the songs about friendships, breakups, friendship breakups, etc. I was curious to know what song he had in mind when talking about the breakup. One of them he had in mind is Fix You by Coldplay, and That's the only thing he had in mind. And I told him that this whole drama reminded me of a Bluey fan art by Wing Healer, which is inspired by a piece of lore from Bluey regarding the relationship between Chili and Brandy. I did come up with a title inspired by Dar Dar Binks. Mom argues with her sister. She lives to regret it. That title speaks for itself. The 7th screenshot has him acknowledging the fact that he's the reason why my persona exists. W asked me which message hit me the hardest. I told him that all of the messages made me break down. But there is one that does the most for me, but I decided to save that for later. The 8th screenshot is pretty much related to the previous one, although I did add that without him, I wouldn't have met great friends and that I would have stuck to doing fan arts. And the 9th and last screenshot that I shared is the one that made the most emotional. The one that made me the most emotional. Everything he said in this screenshot. He said in the screenshot that he missed me. I can say the same about him. He said that I was there for him when he needed me, and vice versa. In fact, during the time I was feeling depressed and regretful about the cutoff, he was thinking about the great times that me and W had together. Like me making a birthday drawing for him back in 2018, us doing the art trade the following year, us talking about our interests, and him making a birthday drawing of my 2 characters in 2023 that I loved so much that it becomes my wallpaper. And here's the part about the screenshot that I think is bittersweet. He said that he wanted to make something special for me during or after the reconciliation process, which I'm all for that. It's not just the fact that it is a nice gesture, but I felt exactly the same thing. And that was all the screenshots that we went over, and that ends the conversation for October 12. During the few days after that, I was slowly keeping my head up. My demeanor is slowly improving, and I was pretty hopeful that there is going to be a day where me and W reconciled for good. Also, during that time, I was working on a drawing that is still sad, but also has a little bit of hope. I was also thinking about the songs that reflect on the aftermath of our cutoff and our reconciliation progress. As far as my conversations with W during that period, it was rather quiet compared to the day before, but I did chat with him about me watching clips of shows about 2 best friends who had a falling out with each other. Even while working on a sad drawing, I was actually in a better mood than before for the reasons that I already told you. And it seems like things are going to go well for me and W. Until October 16th. Something happened while we're in the reconciliation process. And no, it's not something that puts our friendship in jeopardy. Ironically, that one did help with the reconciliation process. So, there is one person who has been giving me and W, along with others, nothing but trouble. I'll refer to this person as Giraffe. Some of the things Giraffe has done include stalking people, stealing OCs and using them in his tripe, plagiarizing W stuff, and generally being a turd in real life. Usually every day during noon, I would try to get as much of the dirt on him. One day, while I was doing just that, I saw his journal on DeviantArt, whose title sounds very familiar. It turns out Giraffe has plagiarized, of all the things from W, the vent thread that he made on Blue Sky after our friendship breakup and made it all about himself. What? Seriously, Giraffe, how can you stoop this fucking low? It's bad enough that you stole our creations and lash out on us when things don't go your way. But plagiarizing W's vent thread with some of the words even copied verbatim? That is fucking insensitive and disgusting! I'm sorry. I know you guys don't like it when I'm angry, let alone shouting and cursing. I was just really pissed off at what Giraffe did to me and W. It's like he kicked both of us while we're down. But here's the funny story about this though. I decided to use a little thing called courage. I decided to use my courage to call out W for the plagiarism of W's vent thread. And you know what he did? He deleted the journal and blocked me as well. I guess I'm more powerful than him, right? Anyways, one silver lining about this is that our friendship might be close to being reconciled, but not completely done. I did eventually finish my drawing, and it's basically two of my OCs comforting my persona who is crying. The one on the left, Penny, is shedding tears while she is comforting me. Jade is the one comforting. Jade is on the right, comforting him as well, but they're not shedding a tear. After finishing that drawing, the next thing I wanted to do is two things at the same time. Coming clean and clearing the air. I wanted to come clean about the whole situation, and I wanted to clear the air so that people who are indirectly attacking him know what I was talking about and reconsider what they have done. I did prepare the text that I was going to post to my socials, but I was nervous about doing so. So I hit up W and showed him the message. After some adjustments and everything, I eventually post all of that on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Twitter for the few people who care. W was also nervous about me coming clean, fearing about the potential backlash that he could have, which I reassure him that in case something like this happens, I will try to clear the air more. A full 24 hours after I posted, I checked the response to my thread, and to me and W's surprise, the reactions to this thread are overwhelmingly positive. One person even said, "Case closed," which means that I have succeeded in coming clean to people about the drama. W was so relieved about the reaction. I was also happy about that. In fact, I was so happy that I decided to finally bounce back and return to my normal self, which includes changing my profile pictures back to where they were before, as well as liking and reposting posts. Now, all that is left to do is an apology. Now, this is where things get a little tricky for W. He is asking me some conditions that have to be met when apologizing, since He wants to learn everything so that he won't forget what he'll do in the future, which led me to remember giving him some kind of advice for apologizing in the early 2020s. I did point out the apology letter that he sent to one of his friends, and I did bump some of the text that I sent him regarding all that. I still have his apology letter from the early 2020s on my phone and my Google Drive. Me and W both remember when I sent him a video of me holding an intervention for that same disgraced Australian friend of 2019 that I've talked about before, and told me how he felt that he behaved like him and that he feared that he would screw everything up after our reconciliation. That was when I told him the real reason why that Australian friend was disgraced. He was exposed as a creep. And that's all I have to say about this disgraced Australian friend. And while discussing how difficult it is to be sincere when apologizing, I reminded him of one quote. Always be kind to people, because everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. After he finished his apology letter to me, we both talked about how October 2025 was cursed. It's not just the bad falling out between me and W, but during that same month, Wacko, that friend of mine that I mentioned several times, lost two of his close friends after both were exposed as awful people, another friend of mine suffering from depression, etc. During that time, I finally got my art mojo back, allowing me to do drawings that are not of my character being all sad or something. However, I was so caught up with my drawings that I didn't get to work on my video project, which is my updated compilation of the phone lock and unlock sounds. I thought I could work on both my drawings and my video in a matter of 10 days. However, it turns out I completely underestimated how much time it took for me to do all this, and I couldn't finish my video by the end of October. This won't be the last time I underestimate the time it took for me to finish something. Anyways, on October 31st, which is Halloween, W finally sent me his apology letter. On the same day, I told him, along with others, that I will be taking a hiatus from social media after this week ends, now that I finish all the drawings for October. However, I didn't immediately read his apology letter after he sent one. I waited till the late evening when I got alone in my living room. This time, I have the TV turned on where I play the night loops of TV channels on YouTube. Once that was happening, I decided to read W's apology letter. By the time I finished reading his apology, I was completely moved. He was very sincere. He didn't use ifs or buts. He took responsibility for his actions, and he has shown genuine remorse about his actions, which is expected considering our chats. I did shed some tears reading his apology letter. The following day, which is my last day before I go on a hiatus, I reached out to W, ready to respond to his apology letter. He was afraid of my response, thinking that his apology would be declined. But turns out, I did not. I actually accepted his apology with open arms, much to his relief and joy. He even posted a gif of Bluey since we both love that show. But little does W know, I've been writing an apology letter for him for 5 days since I'm also responsible for the falling out between the both of us. Now that it is done, I sent him that letter, and sure enough, he did accept my apology. So, for the most part, we have pretty much reconciled, but not completely because I still have to take a detox, and maybe because I want to work on a special drawing for him. Actually, 4 drawings for him. So, just before his bedtime, we bid farewell to each other, and I would do the same thing to my close friends and other people. When announcing my hiatus from social media, I did state the minimum date that I will be returning, because I thought I could finish these 4 drawings in more than a week, but less than 2 weeks. This will be a mistake, as you'll see later in this video. Yes, the time of me being on hiatus is based on the time it took for me to work on these drawings. Now that November 2 hits, I started the process of signing out of most of my accounts and trying to block access to social media platforms. When it comes to YouTube, I still use the platform, but during that period, I don't like or fave videos, comment on videos, upload videos, etc. As for Discord, it would be pretty much similar to my social media platforms, except I would occasionally open the app on my phone for a little security check, because I received one email from Discord from someone who used my email address, albeit with an extra dot. With me now on social media detox, I decided to spend at least a week to see if I'm able to live without social media. And turns out I can. Very well. In fact, I really liked it so much that I decided to extend my hiatus for additional days. It's not just me recovering from the drama that I had, but also the social media fatigue that I was battling for a long time, as well as the fact that social media can be very distracting for me to focus on my interests, and also life. Aside from mental health recovery and working on my artwork, the hiatus allowed me to catch up on everything that I've missed during October, things I couldn't get to do during October because of drama. That said, I did use my hiatus time to work on my drawings made specifically for W. As I said before, I was wanting to finish my 4 drawings in the span of 7 to 10 days. And of course, I completely underestimate how much time it took for me to finish all 4 drawings. Not helped by the fact that I had to juggle that with other things I need to catch up with, as well as my personal life. And regarding some aspects of the 4 drawings, took longer than I anticipated, which I'll explain later. Regardless, this ended up dragging my detox to over 10 days. I was away from social media for too long, to the point where my friends ended up getting worried sick about me. They think I lost access to my accounts, or worse. One day, 2 weeks after I started my hiatus, I received a message from Blue Sky on my iPad, which for some reason sent me notifications despite me signing out of Blue Sky on my iPad. It was from Lee mentioning me on his post where he was worried about my whereabouts. And that post made me realize that I screwed up. I shouldn't have put a date on my display name that signifies my hiatus. Even something vague would do the job. I decided to quell the worries by going to Discord on my phone and let Lee know that I'm still alive. I would later change my display name so people know that I'm not quite ready to return. Lee would later let others know about my whereabouts. On the bright side, while I did sign out of my social media platforms on my computer and my iPad, I was still signed in. Actually, on a side note, while I did sign out of my social media platforms on my computer and my iPad, I was still signed in on my phone because my phone had a nifty little feature where you can block access to the apps through the modes that you made. Anyways, I did finish all my 4 drawings by the early hours of November 21st. However, I was still not finished with the whole catching up thing. Fortunately, I later finished it by the end of that day. And then the next day, on November 22nd, after 20 days on hiatus, I finally returned to my socials, albeit gradually, and I still haven't forgotten about my internet friends since I always had them in my mind during my hiatus. Especially W. Now, even though I have returned to social media, I don't do my usual activity on the day I return because that would seem pretty suspicious and would obscure the post telling my followers that I have returned after my hiatus. That will be done tomorrow night. I did return to my platforms at the time W was asleep. November 23rd was when I finally got to talk to him. Of course, he greeted me with open arms. The same can be said about my other friends. The night of that day is when I decided to go through everything I missed during my detox. While on Blue Sky, I decided to check the notifications that I got while on my hiatus. Of course, some of the notifications are from Lee, but I didn't expect one notification to be from W. And that one post also mentioned me. Both of the cases are actually about them quoting my posts. In W's case, it's his response to my thread of my admission. I guess he is worried about my whereabouts enough that he decided it's his turn to come clean. So I'm gonna read his thread and I'm going to summarize it. And there are some things that I have already mentioned before. So W2 didn't mention our names as that would escalate the drama further. The grudge was mainly his fault, with me only adding fuel to the fire. We both had our regrets. We both blocked out our profile pictures. He knew how meaningful the quote, "two wrongs don't make a right" is. He acknowledged that I helped him pull through the darkest times of his life and motivated him to improve for the better. He revealed that he was battling the mentality that internet friends don't care that nearly consumed him completely, to the point where he could snap at every internet friend. He accepted the fact that internet friends do care for each other. We had chatted with each other after he accepted my offer to reconcile before my prolonged hiatus. We expressed how much we regretted our fight. We expressed how much we regretted our fight. He felt even more bad for me after his friend Wacko sent him my vent pics on Discord. We wrote and sent each other our apologies, and now because I was away from the internet for too long, he was worried sick about my whereabouts. He concluded his thread by thanking me for allowing the friendship reconciliation to be possible, and considered me as one of his best internet friends. My response to his admission is, you guessed it, very positive. So positive that I ended up quoting his admission saying that I'm very proud of him, and he knows that. I did take an opportunity to read his journal on DA about Giraffe plagiarizing W's vent thread. I was still angry about what Giraffe did to W, and the time when I first read his journal, and even after he took down that journal out of cowardice, I'm still disgusted by that act. The next day, it was finally time to show him the 4 drawings that I did while on my hiatus. The first drawing is a split-screen picture. The one on the left is my persona lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling, looking depressed. He's listening to the song on his phone, which displays the Discord DMs between me and W. The one on the right is W's persona looking at the sunset on the balcony. Both drawings have different color tones to symbolize the emotional tones of this drawing, with the cool and slightly less saturated one representing calm sadness, and the warm and bright one representing hope and will. About my persona's phone, the Discord DM is overlaid by the low battery notice, which obviously indicates that his phone was running low on battery. I did that just to give a little bit of fridge sadness. Now, to those who don't know what that is, basically, the more you think about that one little detail, the sadder it gets. In this case, my character is going to feel worse when his phone battery goes flat at 0. And if the wallpaper on his phone is W's drawing of him, it's even sadder. And how, you may ask? The shutdown sequence on his phone is very much like the one on old macOS versions, in which you see the background and a progress indicator on the bottom, which would be the last thing you see before your phone shuts off. The second drawing is of both our personas hugging each other. This drawing takes place outside what appears to be a building in old Montreal, with the yellow lighting from the streetlights. You can see my persona shedding a tear. A happy tear, that is. You can say he's so happy to see that purple wolf after some time being drifted apart. The third drawing is of the 2 sitting at a diner. This one is somewhat the hardest to finish. It's not because I have to draw the characters sitting by the side view. I can do that. The big challenge is space and perspective, although you don't see the bottom of the chair. Anyways, my persona is served with an Oreo milkshake, while W's served with some soda float with black currant flavor. Here, they're both talking about the great moments that they have as friends. That picture was partially inspired by that scene in the 2016 movie Moonlight, where the 2 characters are at a diner. The fourth and final drawing is where things get a little interesting. This drawing and the idea in particular was actually how I envisioned my birthday drawing for W before the unthinkable happened. This drawing consists of the 2 characters seen from the back, looking at the river and the night sky with the moon. They're both touching and holding their backs with each of their hands. Out of all the 4 drawings I did, I think this one is my favorite and the one that I'm most proud of. It's not just the technical aspects, which includes the lighting and how I drew the background, which I'm actually really proud of by itself, but also the emotional atmosphere that I did in order to accomplish the meaning of this drawing. This is something that you can't do with AI-generated slop. AI slop has no feeling whatsoever. Obviously, W approves of these 4 drawings with great enthusiasm and affection. And so, from November 25th to 28th, I uploaded my drawings to my socials. For the platforms where I can only post 1 at a time, I would post each drawing per day until I have 4. During that process, I refollowed W on my socials. I would later return to his Discord server. Once I have all 4 drawings uploaded on a few of my socials in a span of 4 days, I would upload all 4 of them on my other socials where I can post multiple images at once. I also provided the songs for each of the drawings. And then, on November 26th, while I was posting my second drawing, W made a post on Blue Sky saying that he and I have reconciled for good. And I received a notification of that post. The next day, I decided to quote his post to let everyone know that our friendship reconciliation is official. So, after 54 days and over 7 weeks, me and W have now become friends. And this time, we've never been closer than before. And that could have been the end of the story, if not for the fact that my next drawing, and the last one for 2025, also featured a friendship between the blue fox and the purple wolf, which is the drawing that you see working on. Simply put, that wolf is giving the fox a gift that surprises and overjoys him. And that is the perfect send-off to an otherwise terrible year. And that was Storytime with Tanzim Kazi. The person who I referred to as W, his name is Wodian 4. Wow, that is a really long one. In fact, this video is the longest that I've ever recorded on this channel, at over an hour. That is insane. The first video on my channel to cross the 20-minute mark is my gameplay video of a 2003 PC game, Wheel of Fortune. That video was almost 30 minutes long. Even my other long videos clocking at 20 minutes couldn't match that. Not my commentary videos, not my logo compilations, and for the time, not even my speed paints. This record has been held for 4 days, until December 2020, when it was overtaken by my speed paint of a Christmas drawing from 2020. And exactly a year, that was overtaken by my next year's Christmas drawing speed paint. And this time, that record would be held for nearly a year and a half. And it would be overtaken by a video talking about the creation of my persona, which is mostly a Storytime with Tanzim Kazi video, and that record would be held for over 2 years until it was overtaken by my compilation of default alarm tones from 2020 to present. And unlike most record holders, this one would be extremely short-lived, as that record holding will not last an entire month. And on the topic of this video, you may notice how I draw my character is a little different. That's because I was experimenting with yet another style that is basically a much more simplified version of my other style. This one is not final though. It may take a little more time to figure out. figure this out. But anyways, this video is the longest I've ever made. And I doubt I would make another video that would beat this as the longest. And that's the end of this super long 13th year anniversary video. I hope you guys enjoy watching or even listening to this video. So what do we know and learn about this segment of Storytime with Tanzim Kazi? At one point in any friendship, there's going to be, at best, a conflict, or at worst, a fight between two friends. It can involve your best friend, your close friend, even the ones that you've been friends with for years. It's pretty much inevitable. However, there can be a case where the fight was bad enough that it led to a falling out between two friends. In most cases, the friend will realize their mistakes and will try to reconcile with another friend. One silver lining to all this is that situations like this can allow a person to realize their mistakes and grow as a better person. That means learning to avoid the same mistakes and therefore becoming a better friend than before. What I'm saying is that when life gives you lemons, make lemonades. Or limoncello. Another thing we learned is that retaliating and holding a grudge against someone you had a falling out with won't do you any good. It's going to end up hurting you in the long run, along with others that you had a grudge against. If your friend did something wrong to you, you can be mad at them and you can call them out for that. But going as far as ghosting them, or ignoring them, or holding a grudge against them is a terrible idea. Wody has been dealing with issues like this, and I've dealt with that too, during my falling out with him. We both agree that these kinds of sentiments are not healthy, not to mention toxic. It gets especially worse when the person who did any wrongdoing to you ends up regretting their actions, but you didn't buy their genuine remorse. Welp, something happened between me and Wody that made me add another part at the last minute. Remember when I said that Wody left all the servers that he joined because of our falling out? Well, there is one server that he wanted to return after our reconciliation went official. However, he didn't receive a response from the staff of the server, and this ended up becoming a problem. According to him, the staff members are apprehensive of him coming back to the server because of some pattern that I'm not going to go into detail. I tried to reassure him that they can take some time and allow him back to the server, but on January 16, 2026, which we entered into a new year, when I showed Wody a screenshot of yet another example of Giraffe plagiarizing his words, he did not reply to me, despite having the online status. And the next day, he's not even active on Discord. I was concerned about his activity status until I was able to reach him out on Instagram. He vented to me about the whole situation regarding the server invitation and how our falling out destroyed him, which included his mojo, his motivation, and his trust on the internet. He even went as far as saying that he's planning to leave the internet forever after I post this very video you are watching. He would later assume that his friend turned against him. I'm going to refer to that person as Red. Wody believes that Red has quietly parted ways with him and that he sees me as invisible. Wody thinks Red ghosted him. I tried to talk to Red about this, but he didn't seem to respond. It was my conversations with Wody on Instagram that I realized that our friendship breakup left him with a big mental scar, perhaps even bigger than the falling out that he had with Red. And for a couple of days, he disappeared. During that time, I thought Wody abandoned not just me, but also his friends, which made me panic. I was so panicked about this that I decided to cancel the video where I talk about the falling out, since he told me that he's going to quit social media forever when I upload the video. Fortunately, he returned and decided to stay on the internet even after I posted a video, which means he allowed me to make this video. I tried to show him a screenshot to try to prove that people in Red's server care about him, as well as his own server, but it didn't seem to work for whatever reason. And after some time trying to hit Red up, he finally responded. After some time, we continued in a group chat with another person who's friends with Red. I'll call this person Other Friend. So, my chat with him and my chat with Red and Other Friend reveals everything. Red did ghost Wody by accident. It turns out he was going through so much that he low-key forgot about him. And it turns out they didn't know what to do with the situation. We did talk about the drama inside his server that I've talked about before. The one that culminated in Wody doing... No. The one that culminated in Wody doing something to me that he later regretted. And I showed the screenshots of the conversations between me and him and noticed the strong relations between those incidents. Once I figured out everything happened between the two and Wody, I showed them the Instagram conversations that I had between me and Wody. And Red felt terrible about this whole situation. So, in actuality, Red does care about Wody, and he does not want to lose him. And that's where I learned yet another quote. Everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. Always choose kindness over judgment. Now we got everything out of the way. I was ready to show Wody the conversations I had between the two. Except he did not respond to my messages. Not just that, but I didn't see any signs of activity. Not even on Instagram. This has been going on for 2 days by the time I was recording this. And I'm legitimately worried about him. At best, he is taking another unannounced break. At worst, he probably abandoned us all and left the internet because he thinks we didn't care about him, even though me and Red clearly do. I was hopeful that he would appear on my 13th year anniversary of my YouTube channel and probably watch the video. But at the same time, I can't keep my hopes too high. And this ended up hitting Red mentally. Now I'm worried about both of them. I was scared that both Wody and Red would sink further. I hope for the best, but I have to prepare for the worst. Now, normally, I would say my usual outro, but for this video, I'm not going to. Instead, I want to end it with one final message to Wodian before I end this video. Wody, if you're watching this video, I just want to say that you are one of the best internet friends that I have ever met. In spite of our rocky moments, which may have happened even after our reconciliation, we're still great friends. Similar to how I helped you emotionally get back on your feet. You helped me make my persona possible, which led to a domino effect that shaped who I am, both on the internet and in real life. I'll spare you the details of the things that happened after my persona was invented, but you are one awesome friend.